Next, we're going to hear from Bill Randles, candidate for governor in the state of Missouri. Bill, take it away.
Well, I want to thank all of y'all for coming out. I want to thank you for having Bev and I here. You know, it really does warm your heart to come out on a cold night like this and see this many citizens interested in their government and willing to put themselves out to make a difference. I want to get right to substance, and I want to mention three things to you in the 5 minutes I have. I want to take a moment to frame the problem for you. I want to talk about what I think a winning solution is in the short term. And then I want to talk to you about a long-term victory, because I'm not the kind of person who likes to be on the defense, and I'm not the kind of person who likes to just react. Now, in terms of the problem, you know, if I had a slogan for this campaign, and I could use my favorite one, and the hippies hadn't ruined it in the 60s, my slogan would be power to the people, because that's all that animates my campaign. How do we return more power to the people that's been taken by the state government and the federal government? Well, to do that, you have to have a plan, but you also have to understand the problem. All of us are upset about Obamacare, and it's a terrible intrusion. But the biggest danger to Obamacare isn't the statute, it's the regulations that are going to come out of the statute. You know, Ed was right about the three branches of government, but I think there's another element here as to what's gone wrong with the balance of power, and that's the regulatory system. Let me give you a statistic to amaze and depress your friends with. Every day that the Obama administration's been in office, they have passed 10 new regulations. Wow. 365 days a year. You're less free in 10 ways today than you were yesterday, and you will be less free in 10 ways tomorrow. Now, to put that in perspective, Congress probably will not pass 10 bills this month. But there were 10 new rules today, and there'll be 10 more tomorrow. And coming out of Obamacare, out of the thousands of pages, is one directive after another for more rules. If the Obamacare bill is this big, the rules that will come out of it will be this big. One of the things that happened with the balance of power is the three branches gave up a bunch of power, starting in the 30s primarily, and they let it bleed down to regulatory officials who are responsible to no one. You want to be powerful in Washington, Ed? Don't run for Congress. Don't run for Senate. Be a regulator. That's where the real power is, because let me tell you something. Let's say the head of the EPA passes a rule that Ed hates. Well, Ed May can call him in for a hearing. And he may give him a hard time, and they'll sit there impatiently looking at him because they're going to be thinking, you know what, Congressman? I passed my rule, and to overturn my rule, you've got to have a majority of the House vote to overturn it. You've got to have a majority of the Senate vote to overturn it in the same language. And you have to have a president sign it. Or you have to have enough votes to override. So where's the real power in Washington? It's in the hands of people we don't vote for and that we can't take out of office. I'm going to return to that idea in a minute about the solution phase, because we have to address that. That's the biggest intrusion. The court cases are frustrating, the executive orders are frustrating, and the statutes are frustrating. But the regulations are a roaring river compared to a stream in comparison. So what do? Well, those of you who are on my email list have received an article from me a while back called State Sovereignty, a Winning Strategy. Those of you who aren't, if you sign up, we'll be happy to send it to you. We can talk about it more in the question period. But I think it's not enough to say we want to nullify, we want to oppose federal power. You have to have an actual plan to make it work. And in my article, I differentiate between funded and unfunded mandates, because we have to approach them differently. But just to give you a teaser, let me say this. Conservatives have not yet come up with a very good nullification strategy. But you know who has? Liberals. There are two forms of nullification working today that are working brilliantly. Medical marijuana in California, that's nullification. And the sanctuary movement for illegal immigrants. I oppose both ends. But we as conservatives need to read that playbook. That has worked. And we can implement the same tactics here in Missouri. I'll be happy to talk more about the question and answer. And now I want to take one look longer term, because I don't like being on the defense. And the word nullification means you're on the defense. You're nullifying something someone else did. How do we get out of the pattern of needing to nullify and return to actual constitutional limited government? One part, as you may gather, is you have to get a hold of the regulations. And one thing I will do in Missouri when I'm elected governor is, between my election and the inauguration, we will go through the entire regulatory law of the state of Missouri. Every regulation that's too hostile to business, out of date, too intrusive, we will strike. and we will hand it to the legislature, and we will say, pass this as the regulatory law of the state of Missouri, and then do something no state's done since the New Deal. Take away the power of the regulators to make any new rules. In one step, we'll return to constitutional government. In one step, the checks and balances will begin to work again in Missouri, because anyone that can pass a rule that will bind you will be someone you can vote for and hold accountable. Be happy to talk about more of this as we go, but my friends, we can fix these problems, but we can't do it piecemeal. We have to do it boldly. Thank you.